Welcome, everybody, to the Shut Your Mouth Lounge, episode number 132. I tried to give some gaps there for Addy to say hey, yet he did not take advantage. Will you only do it to interrupt me, Addy? Addy? Addy?
My God, the man just died.
Hey,
Oh, you didn't interrupt me this time, fucker.
I wasn't trying to. This time I was trying to draw it out.
Alright. I'm here. I'm Alex. There's an Addy here. There's a Pink
hey.
here. Alright. So, Pink, you got anything coming up on your channel this week?
I do. I think I've got about 3 episodes, maybe, of Poland in Civ 6.
Alright. That series getting finished?
It better be.
Eh. You got anything else?
I don't think I've done anything else, so no.
Alrighty then. Addy, you got anything coming out on your channel?
It depends on what's coming out on the forums channel. If the last episode of whatchamacallit,
Streets of Rage?
Streets of Rage 4, yeah, if that's coming out, then yeah, I have the full stream of that coming out.
Alright. Well, speak of the devil, on the group chat, is that all you got coming out this week, by the way, Addy?
Probably, yeah. I mean, I did record Naruto, but I'll need to rewatch that video like 3 more times before I decide whether or not I actually want to upload it.
Yeah. Alright. As opposed to me, I'll just upload any old trash as long as I record it. So, on the 29th, Monday, we are releasing Streets of Rage 4, Part 4, the finale.
Very nice.
On Tuesday, we're releasing Fighting Games R, Episode 7, where me and Addy talk about Marvel vs. Capcom 3. And on Friday, we are releasing, me and Addy, our little one-off playing Under Night in Birth Clear, which is another
What?
big fighting game that I'm sure Pink has no possible way of understanding.
I just heard words. They didn't make sense to me, but they were there.
We like that
Yeah.
fighting game, and we still hear words when its name gets brought up.
Yeah, my argument for the superiority over the other Arxis game that we don't like. Well, now the other Arxis game that isn't Guilty Gear, I guess, is the better way to put it.
Oh, you mean
Uh,
Persona Arena?
No,
Oh,
I
you mean Dragon Ball
I mean
Fighter
Blaze
Z?
Blue. I mean Blaze Blue.
You mean Sengoku Basara Cross?
No, I mean Chaos Code.
Ah, I understand now.
That was one of those, I think. I forget. I know that I have a freaking Arxis fighting game in my wish list that actually came out for the PS3, but was just shittily ported to the PS4, and it has a chef that cooks people, and
Ah.
that's why I put it on my wish list.
Oh, you mean Skullgirl?
Maybe.
Anyways, Blaze Blue sucks.
Yeah.
All right. I don't know if there's anything that's going to be coming out on my channel, as per usual. Pink, what you been up to this past week, man?
Well, it's ironic that we were talking about all the Streets of Rage, because I've been playing a lot of Streets of Rage this week.
Okay.
Yeah. Unlocked all the characters. They're all fantastic in all their pixelated glory. But aside from that, I did a lot of Overwatch and a lot of Rainbow Six. I don't think there's anything new to bring to the table. I know for a fact I didn't watch anything because I was barely home this week. Let's see. No, I think that was it.
All right. Eddie, what you been up to this week, man?
I genuinely don't know.
Eh.
I'm not sure if I've done anything worth mentioning this week. I
Uh,
I think I spent the week recording.
I, I know that. Though there was even a day that you were recording and I wasn't. So you've spent more time
Yeah.
recording than I have.
So I don't think I've done anything, actually.
Well, you have done things, but we're just gonna see him on the channels.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if you think of anything, just let me know because I've done several things this week. So I guess I'll be covering for all three of us. Right. So for one thing, over the weekend, the Watchmen television series made by HBO was made free to watch for everyone on Hulu in celebration of Juneteenth.
Right.
So, what did you hear about it, Hank?
I heard nothing about it because I try to avoid it as much as possible. I remember when it initially came out, they had what was it? I forget the time frame, but I actually forget the name of it. I made a post about it in the comic thread where they covered an event that was kind of a what was it? The Black Wall Street Massacre or something like that.
The Tulsa Massacre, yeah.
Tulsa Massacre, that's what it was. The I believe that takes place like 30 years before Watchmen takes place. So that
19,
just
1921, so it's even before, like, Hooded Justice was running around.
right. So that confused me greatly, and I stopped paying any and all attention to it immediately because it's like, it's. I'm not sure if it was supposed to be a sequel, but then it turned into a prequel, or maybe it's trying to cover both at the same time. I just didn't understand it, and I was like, well, this is dumb, and nothing is really going to compare to the original Watchmen anyway, so I don't have to pay attention to this whatsoever.
Well, the original comic would flip rapidly between 1940 and 1980.
It did, but in a way where the plot never lost its sense of purpose or meaning. I honestly don't know what the plot is in this new Watchmen show, so I really can't speak on that all that much. But because it's not a direct continuation of Watchmen itself, it's like I don't feel the need to care.
Okay, so I'm just gonna go ahead and say, like, we get one sequence of seeing the Tulsa Massacre at at the beginning of the first episode before the title card, right?
Right.
That is all we get to see of the Tulsa Massacre.
And what is the significance of it?
A pretty big one. It's a pretty
How does
big.
it tie into the overall story? How
Okay,
does it
okay.
go ahead?
Am I getting clearance here to spoil everything?
Yeah, because I'm not gonna watch the show.
Okay, so the book basically. Okay, do you remember Hooded Justice's little plot line from the original comic,
Yes.
where he's thought to be a German, Nazi sympathetic, KKK sympathetic German bodybuilder who has a gay relationship with Captain Metropolis. He stops comedian from raping the first Silk Spectre, and in response, the comedian assassinates him.
Yeah.
They pretty much go fuck all that. So, Hooded Justice in this case is a little boy who his parents, their business was a theater in Tulsa. The Tulsa Massacre starts, and as a little bit of Superman imagery, they send him away because their home planet is doomed, right? The hometown of Tulsa is doomed. So they send him away
Right.
as the prodigal son, right?
Right.
And he grows up thinking he wants to be a cop because he thinks that can help him, like, stop horrible things from happening, like what happened to his parents. But when he tries to be a cop, he winds up stumbling on a conspiracy within the police, and they try to lynch him. But he survives. And as he's walking home that night, he walks in on a mugging, and he beats the mugger half to death with his bare hands, right? Because he's hooded fucking justice. That's what he does.
Right.
But when he does it, he's still got the noose and the black mask over his face. So he winds up becoming the first masked vigilante because the story spreads of a vigilante with a mask and a noose who saved some people. and he inspires that following generation of superheroes. And this is still from the comic, by the way. The comic explicitly says Hooded Justice was the first superhero. He inspired everyone else, right?
Right.
So Captain Metropolis comes knocking on his door and is like, all right, you're the very first superhero. We'd love to have you on the little super team we're gathering together. You're an inspiration to all of us. But, oh, by the way, the fact that you're black, we need you to wear a white face while you're in there, okay? So he successfully talks Hooded Justice into going on whiteface and seduces him, by the way, into cheating on his wife with
Oh, yeah, like you do.
him. Yeah. And then the Watchmen story continues pretty much as you know. The whole Carl Muller being assassinated thing, they just explain away as Hooded Justice. Well, he got sick of the identity and how Captain Metropolis and the gang were all abusing him, well, forcing him to pass as a white person, which he was not comfortable with. They do not explain whether or not he killed Carl Muller, but we do see him kill a couple Klansmen, so the idea of him killing a white supremacist is not out of the question.
Right.
But they say that instead he killed Carl Muller and dumped him with the assumption that people will think the comedian killed him.
Aha.
Now, where this plays in is that, so it cuts to 2019, right?
All right.
Ozymandias has dropped the squid in New York. And I should note, they're going with the comics, not the movie. So it's a fucking squid.
Good.
And Rorschach left his journal, right?
Right.
Thing is, Rorschach's batshit crazy. So
Right.
most people, when they read Rorschach's journal, go, this isn't real. This is the ramblings of a batshit crazy lunatic. So most of the world doesn't care about Rorschach's journal. But white supremacists love it because Rorschach spends most of his journal complaining about the gays and the foreigners, which is still from the comics. The Hooded Justice is the only instance of the entire show where they are trying to undo something from the comics. Otherwise, the show is ultra comic accurate. In fact, one could say it's almost too comic accurate because a lot of the show is built on references that even like people who just did a cursory read through Watchmen will not get it. One of the major plot elements is that Vietnam is now the 51st state.
Oh,
A lot of people do not remember that part of the comic, do they?
no.
Oh, is there a thunderstorm going on over in Hungary?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
There's a thunderstorm, and there's also like a small young pigeon freaking screaming their heads off about the rain.
I can't hear the pigeons, but I can hear the thunder. This is also a show. You could tell the writers did not want to hit that we're ashamed to be comic booky level. So they were like, we could throw in some more wacky comic book stuff here. So, to try and preserve the illusion of the potential of extra dimensional invaders, Ozymandias has made it where just every like month or so, at random spots in the world, it will rain miniature squids. Just tiny versions of the massive psychic squid. And by the time of 2019,
Sushi rains from above.
by the time of the year 2019, people are just used to it. Like, honest to God, in the first episode, the main character's just like, ah, shit, I gotta pull off the side of the road. It's raining squids again. But since Rorschach's journal got picked up by crazy white supremacists, well, they take to his idea of vigilante justice, right?
Right.
And here's another vital thing. There is a small joke gag line that Alan Moore has at the end of Watchmen, where someone mentions that Robert Redford is running for president to replace Nixon, right?
Right.
And someone in response says, oh, Robert Redford, the cowboy actor? Now, this bit in the comic, it was obvious Alan Moore was just making that as a joke to say, haha, Americans are stupid, they elected a cowboy actor, right?
Right.
Yeah, the show, excuse me, I'm adjusting my mic a little bit. Oh, shit, what was that?
That was a lot of it.
Okay, I don't know what that is, but I'll have to check it out later. Anyways, the show seriously runs with the prospect that Robert Redford got elected in, what, 86?
Right.
And because Nixon removed term limits, Robert Redford has just been president ever since. And and the show runs seriously with the concept that Robert Redford was an intense Democrat and has been president for over 30 years. So America legally is very, 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 very liberal. So the guys who love Rorschach's writings feel like they are having their lives impressed upon, right?
Right.
So in the city of Tulsa, it's the worst it is in the entire country, and they have a night they call White Night in 2017, where they go around and they try to assassinate every cop they can. They hunt the policemen down to their homes and try to kill all of them and their families as a way of saying the government can't restrict you, right?
Right.
It's at this point that I should mention that it also ties into the conspiracy that Hooded Justice found out about. That it's basically a massive conspiracy being funded by a lot of the top government and corporate guys. You know how this story goes, right?
Hmm.
So that's why they were able to track down all the policemen. And this results in the city of Tulsa passing a law that says all policemen must be masked while on duty so that their identities can't be tracked. And this is how our modern day watchmen or our modern day Minutemen come in. Because while the regular cops still wear their uniforms and just have yellow face masks, the actual detectives have full on superhero identities. And all of them claim to be retired. And that's where we get our main characters, the one you saw in ads, right?
Right.
Main character, Night Sister, played by Regina King. But we also get a couple other major ones. I love the one Red Scare.
I like the name.
He's kind of the comedian equivalent. He's a Russian immigrant who runs around in a, tracksuit, of course, a red tracksuit, red balaclava. And he's the comedian equivalent in that he's extraordinarily vicious, but he's not nearly as important to the plot. They don't say he's a rapist. It's just that
Yeah.
he loves beating the shit out of people.
Yeah, like you do.
And it's one of my favorites. Like, he's like, okay. So part of the whole thing is that since the detectives all have masks, they're way too ballsy and they get to be way too cruel, right? And that's one of the main plot elements. Is that since they're wearing masks, they can get away with shit they ordinarily shouldn't be able to, right?
Ah, right.
But there's a part where they think that white supremacists assassinated the police chief. So they go and try and drag out everyone out of the trailer park. And they then proceed to engage in police brutality and all kinds of violations of rights. But it's one of the funnier bits in the series to me is just like there's a scene where Red Scare is standing on top of a police car in front of the trailer park going, "Hello, racist shitheads! Either you turn in your assassin friend, or we will personally drag out every last one of you out of your trailer park shitholes and into this paddy wagon." And he's just got such enthusiasm about it that it cracks me up. Uh, the show also, I think one of the things that's worth noting, the show had a controversy almost immediately because it associates Rorschach with white supremacy, right?
Right.
Which Rorschach was not racist in the comics, absolutely. But at the same time, do you want to pretend Rorschach wasn't more than a little bit of a nationalistic asshole? And one of the points you will notice is that the white supremacists don't understand Rorschach because all of their terrorism videos they film inside a church. And Rorschach was rather famously a nihilist.
Right.
And as a matter of fact, the series pretty much ends by saying, "Yeah, Rorschach was right the entire time," in an odd way. because Ozymandias, we have a character who is pretty much liberal Rorschach, right?
Right.
He's called Looking Glass, and like Rorschach, he's got that kind of full head covering mask. But instead of it being a Rorschach thing, it's a kind of mirror.
Right.
But he's like Rorschach in that he's been pretty well mentally disturbed since a horrible event in his life. With, guess what? He survived the squid.
Aha.
He was in a house of mirrors at a carnival, and it turns out that the mirrors actually were able to block the psychic attack. So he leaves the house of mirrors and just finds that everybody's dead.
Whoop. Whoop. Okay.
Yeah. So his whole thing is that he's been horribly traumatized by that, and he's still obsessive about it. And he is still worried that every day the squid's going to come back for him. So he eventually gets teleported off to Ozymandias' base. Whoops! Whole thing's a hoax, arranged by Ozymandias. And it's him and Lori. And the series ends with them knocking out Ozymandias and saying they're going to take him into court and expose to the whole world the squid was fake. And Ozymandias says, like, what the hell, Lori? You were okay with it in the 80s.
What changed?
And Lori pretty much says, I was fucking wrong then. Rorschach was right. Which is weird that they take such a perspective on it. And it's around this time, I should note, Alan Moore said he did not support this show. Because Alan Moore's whole thing was that Rorschach was wrong. So this show being like, no, fuck off, Rorschach was right, people had a right to know, is weird, you know?
Right.
I walked away really enjoying the show. I think they get too dug into flashbacks later in the season. Because we got the first 4 episodes, very few flashbacks. Then episode 5, oh, it's the entire flashback backstory of Hooded Justice. Episode 6,
Mm.
oh, it's the entire flashback backstory of Looking Glass. Episode 7, oh, it's the entire flashback backstory of Night Sister. Episode 8, hey, you wondering what Dr. Manhattan's been up to for the last 30 years?
Yeah, I could see how that doesn't flow so well.
No. It really interrupts the pace. They should have gone with a flashback every other episode, like the comic did, you know?
Yeah.
One thing I should really note is that with this kind of thing, they get into the Force Awakens problem. Not Force Awakens. Is it Force Awakens? Yeah, Force Awakens. The Force Awakens problem of, well, you're trying to make a show that is very much a big send up to something that the real last entry of was 80 years ago. And
Right.
they wanted to have everything thematically represented. And a lot of the characters that show up in this story are in ways very, very much like the second coming of certain characters.
Right.
Looking Glass very much has Rorschach's general appearance and his paranoia and his conspiracy theories. And Night Sister very much has his penchant for incredible violence. We've got a character who is very transparently an Ozymandias send up. We've got, like, the show even starts with the murder of someone who is very close to the protagonist, who is effectively one of the heroes, but over time they find out he was a terrible person.
Yeah,
Which,
that sounds familiar.
yeah. And of course, the ending that there was this, very rich, very talented genius that we thought was fairly innocent, but no, he's actually got an evil plot. Huh.
Oh, yes.
So they very clearly had thematic send ups, but at the same time, they do enough different that it's not, the bad case of the Force Awakens, where it's just,
Right.
I've seen this before. Thematically, it's an entirely different thing from the original Watchmen, where part of the whole thing is, I would say that the 2 central themes to the show, the first one, they pretty well explicitly tell you, is that people put on masks because of trauma and masks make people cruel. Part of the idea. The irony is that Ozymandias is the character who says masks make people cruel, when Ozymandias was one of the few superheroes who didn't wear a mask.
Hmm.
But the other big point is there's no such thing as utopia.
Right.
The show very clearly knew that it was going to be aiming for a liberal era, right?
Hmm.
And so part of the show is showing that like 30 years of liberal presidency has not turned America into a utopia. It's still got lots of problems. And parts of the problems are from 30 years of a liberal presidency. Not only do a lot of like white people feel like they're intensely threatened, but it also shows a lot of black people who are still like, didn't help that much, honestly. uh, at one point, we get to see, you know how Dr. Manhattan. Okay, so there's one thing I really liked about this. So this came out around the same time as the Doomsday Clock comic, right?
Right.
The Doomsday Clock comic pretty much entirely ignores Dr. Manhattan's character development, right?
Right.
He just goes back to being a sociopathic guy who's like, a living body and a dead one have the same amount of atoms, right?
Right.
And entirely ignoring Dr. Manhattan's character development at the end of that comic where he comes to see the beauty. This show goes in the opposite direction. At one point, we get to see what he made out there in space. He tried to make the perfect society of humans, where humans are not greedy or ambitious or lustful or any of that. And, well, they don't do anything. He made a paradise for them to live in, and at one point, he just goes back to Earth, and he's like, "Yeah, that didn't work. I'm honestly more. I wanted to do more studying of humans, but I don't think I've got a good perspective on them, Ozymandias. How about we make a trade? I'll send you to that paradise of humans that never go to war with each other, like you always dreamed of, right, Ozzy? And in return, you make it where I don't have this freaky, weird perspective on humans, so that I can learn more about them." And so they make that trade, right?
Right.
He sends Ozzy there. Meanwhile, he forgets that he's Dr. Manhattan and reintegrates into regular human life, and he marries Night Sister. And guess what? Ozzy fucking hates it on that planet. Because to him, they're just all a bunch of simpletons, right?
Right.
They're all so nice, and they're all just like, "Oh, what do you want to do, Adrian?" And Adrian's like, "I don't fucking know." They just give him cake every day, and he just has to find ways to entertain himself. And it's shown that, like, after several years on that planet, he's just gotten to the point where he casually kills them without thought. Which, of course, you introduce someone who has those human ideas into a world where people don't have those kind of human sins. That person's going to turn out to be very destructive to his environment eventually, isn't he? Uh, the series does like raise some in that the series kind of talks about some questions you inevitably had reading the comic though, which I think there is one everyone has when they see Dr. Manhattan. And the question is, boy, he could have done more, couldn't he?
Yeah, just a little bit.
And yeah, that the last couple episodes of the show really center on, boy, he could have done more, couldn't he? I mean, when you think about it, endless power, you just used it to blow up a couple criminals and the Vietnamese. Really? That seems like a good use of it, honestly. I walked away really enjoying the series. It was flawed, certainly, but it felt like okay, the original comic, if we're all being perfectly totally honest, was flawed.
Absolutely.
But the show hit that same spot that the comic did without being a ripoff of the comic. And that is such a fine line to walk. And here's the thing that's really worth noting. They're going ahead and finishing it after season one. Because they're saying, oh, we told all the story we wanted to tell.
Very good.
So it's not going to get dragged out like fucking Stranger Things did.
Yeah. Some shows are meant to be only one season.
It's a sequel without the creator's consent, but it still feels like it fits very well into
Nice.
in my head, I see, three generations of Watchmen. The first with Captain Metropolis and Comedian and all that. And the second with Rorschach and Dan. And the third with the new guy. Oh, one of the things I want to note, actually, So out of the classic Watchmen 6 that we can think of, right? So
Right.
obviously, comedian and Rorschach don't come back, obviously.
They're kind of dead, yeah.
And they don't bring back Dan, and I understand why they don't bring back Dan, because Dan was never that interesting.
Uh huh.
Dan and Lori were always the problematic ones in the comics in terms of just being kiss ass boring.
Right.
So they only bring back Ozzy, Dr. Manhattan, and Lori. And with Lori, she gets an entire character overhaul because the writer of the show explicitly said, "Oh yeah, Lori was always kind of boring, so I tried to overhaul her."
We try to make this character interesting.
And they did it in a way that makes sense because part of the whole end point of her storyline in the comics is her coming to grips with her parentage, right?
Right.
So yeah, guess what? Now she behaves a lot more like the comedian. She ain't going around raping people, but she's definitely got a lot of the comedian sensibilities about her now. Which he's a fucking dick in this show. But it's better than her just being nothing like she was in the comics.
Absolutely.
And it kind of just feels right. She's just kind of bitter. Especially because the show explicitly states when her and Dan, when she wanted to go back to being a superhero, right? That was her whole thing in the comics was she eventually learned that she liked being a superhero and she wanted to be more like her dad, right?
Right.
Yeah, the federal government says no. So she's kind of bitter about that.
Yeah.
And that's why Dan's not there. He's in federal prison. And the government's forcing Lori to go and hunt down other superheroes as part of an exchange to get Dan out of prison.
Ah.
Meanwhile, Ozzy's bitter because guess what? He dropped a fucking squid on the planet and killed 3 million people to create world peace. Guess what? World peace don't exist. So he's just really bitter about that and the fact that no one gives him credit for ending the Cold War. He's really pissed about that. They make Adrian a real shithead in this show. You definitely get the feeling that the writer doesn't like him. But at the same time, it works out. Adrian, he deserves it for what he did, honestly.
Right.
And Dr. Manhattan, you really walk away liking Dr. Manhattan because it's Dr. Manhattan after his character development from the comics. Instead of Jeff Johns' crazy sociopath Dr. Manhattan. Uh, and I mean, the show's somewhat negative perspective of Rorschach is definitely a lot more natural than the comics being like, oh, new Rorschach! He's black now! And he's a super good guy. And it's like, what? Oh yeah,
Right.
that's what I remember Rorschach as. Goody goody two shoes hero. Uh, anyway, I'm sorry, Addie, that you weren't able to. That was kind of leaving you out, but I'm done talking about Watchmen. I walked away really enjoying it. I think if you watched it, not Goku. God damn it! Now I've got one more name to cycle in, don't I?
Summon him. I need the summoning salt, but he'll be here.
So Goku, Mike, Addie, soon Pink. I think you would enjoy the Watchmen show if you got an opportunity to watch it. But with that said,
Oh, nice.
you probably won't get an opportunity to watch it because it's HBO.
Right.
Yeah. Ah, shit. Now I feel like I gotta rush through the other things I did this week. So my birthday happened.
Happy birthday.
Yeah. So I got some Warhammer miniatures. Unfortunately, they're made out of resin and metal. And what I've been using to assemble the miniatures so far has been plastic semen. Plastic
Classic
semen.
Aha.
Seaman
Plastic semen. Yes, exactly. Plastic semen only works on plastic.
for
I
now.
never would have guessed.
So yeah, applying it. Tried to apply it to resin. Resin doesn't give a shit. And I didn't even have to test with metal. I knew there was no way that's going to work. So yeah,
I forget what's a good glue that can hold together metal, but
super
I
glue. That's whatever.
maybe yeah.
That's what everybody says is super glue, so we're having to wait on that. I got Stephen King's On Writing, which is just a book of Stephen King explaining how to write. And I figured,
Ah,
yeah, the guy who's wrote 90 novels, almost all of them bestsellers, yeah, he probably knows a bit about writing, honestly.
probably. But at the same time, all his books are terrible, so eh.
Hey, you shove it. So the first half of the book is just him giving a little autobiography and explaining how he came to be a writer, right? And the influences on him.
Right.
Which I
I
mean, yeah,
always see the technology.
what?
Is that not him? The guy who writes about technology being evil because he
Oh
doesn't like.
yeah, he's got that going on real bad. There are
I mean,
several
honestly, I make fun of him for it, but I don't disagree.
there's several points in the book where his one of his big writing advice is, don't watch TV, don't use the cell phone, blah blah blah. I'm just like, all right, Gramps.
Use a typewriter. It's better.
Oh, at least he doesn't say that. No, he says you. But like old Simpsons, old man yells at cloud, right? Ah. So I finally gotten to the part where he explains writing advice. Ordinarily, I'm the kind of person who powers through books. I read 2 or 3 books a year, honestly. But when I do read a book, I read it in a day or two.
Right.
I'm in a similar way. I only read like a book every, I don't know, like 3 years. But when I read a book, I read it in, I don't know. It depends on the length. But like the longest book I've read recently took me 2 weeks.
Ah,
So yeah, and it's like a 500-page novel,
ah.
but more. I don't know. I forget how many pages it has.
Yeah, it's yeah. But I've finally gotten to the part where he actually provides the writing advice. I can't do that because
Why?
I'll read a couple pages, and then I'll have to put the book down and think about what he just said and how it applies, which I consider a good sign. But there was 2 bits of writing advice that struck me in particular. So
Yeah.
he said that vocabulary is not that important, but grammar is. And the 2 specific points he made, I wanted to hear what you guys thought of this, is he hates using the passive voice instead of the active. His bit of
I'd comment if I knew what the hell that meant.
Okay, so his writing advice is say I washed the sheets instead of saying the sheets were washed by me.
Yeah. I agree. Definitely agree.
He says it breaks the rhythm, it sounds awkward, and it makes it sound like you're trying to sound more intellectual than you actually
He is right. It. I also dislike that because it's like you're trying to use big words and roundabout ways to talk about things to just basically what's the word I'm looking for? Basically, it's filler. It's filler writing.
are. Yes. And the other bit of writing advice he provided was he hates adverbs. Saying a character, oh, Bob ran boldly. Jim uh, slammed the door loudly. Because the adverbs, he says, really just kind of are unnecessary.
Right.
Yeah,
And they imply that you're insecure about how you wrote that. That you feel like you need to add the adverb to get the point
that checks out. I mean, yeah.
Now, there is one part that I immediately disagreed with, which is he says that you shouldn't plot things out ahead. You should write by the seat of your ass to make things more organic. Which there are definitely merits to that method, but at the same time, like it can also turn out really poorly sometimes.
I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
I
I
think
think that part is wholly dependent on you, the writer and his writing style.
Yes,
yeah, and I think a mix of the two can work the best. Like plan out the major plot points, and then let the smaller insignificant things just write themselves.
yes. And I don't know if I'll have that much more to say about it. So that's there's that. And the last 2 things that I have done are both Total War related. So I'm sure you guys aren't sick of that. But yeah, I don't have too much to say. I checked out the well, I believe I've actually mentioned this on the podcast before, but I assume you guys have heard of the Third Age mod for Total War Medieval 2, which is the Lord of the Rings overhaul.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So that mod was so successful that another mod made a mod that's an expansion to that. And have I mentioned it to you before? The Divide and Conquer expansion to Third Age.
I don't know. It doesn't sound familiar.
Yeah, I'm not sure either.
So the vanilla Third Age has pretty much the Lord of the Rings factions you guys would expect, right? We got Gondor, we got elves, we got dwarfs, we got Mordor, we got Isengard, right?
Right.
Well, the Divide and Conquer expansion basically goes to the trouble of adding everyone ever. Like seriously, just characters that were like nations that were mentioned like in passing in the book. Like I don't imagine any of you guys remember the Vale of Dorwinion being brought up at some point.
I don't even know what that is.
I never read the books.
So yeah, they're there. The the crazy humans in the hills that hate Rohan, the Dunlendings, who I think were only in a single deleted scene in the movies. Yeah, they're there. At some point in the books, they mention a group of coastal fishermen, a nation of coastal fishermen, who are crazy and barbaric, called the Inadwave. They are also there. Not only have we got the Haradrim and the Easterlings, they also included the Variags. And the amusing thing about the Variags is that the Variags were not developed at all by Tolkien. He mentioned them at a couple points, but he didn't really ever talk about who they were culturally. So Modder just made them up himself.
I am convinced that you are making up words.
I don't blame you, but I have to admit, the modder did a pretty good job with some of the a lot of the made up stuff to make it still fit into Tolkien's setting. But at the same time, there's something a little goofy about the Variags, who are very clearly just emerging of Mongolia and Japan. But I want to put time in with this mod because it seems, pretty high quality and just the variety of craziness available for Tolkien's universe. There's a lot of the stuff that I'm just not going to touch. Because like I said, good 3 or 4 of these nations are just jobbers that were mentioned in passing in the books. So why should I give it, right?
Yeah.
But it seems pretty interesting. The other thing I checked out this week was I've been wanting to get into the Total Wars outside of Warhammer for a good while because I want to learn to not. I want to learn to be better at this game, right? And learn new strategies and stuff.
Yeah.
Because I so often feel intimidated by the game, you know?
Right.
Because Total War, like, I've been for a while thinking, oh, Total War is simpler than it looks. Come on. I've been trying to talk Mike into getting into this, right? Because Mike loves Mountain Blade, so he'd probably love Total War as well. They're not that different, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So I was like, I'm gonna sit down and I'm gonna make some recordings, basically explaining the gameplay. I'll shoot them over to Mike, right? Sat down, I did those recordings. Total War isn't simple.
I have a similar issue because for the past like month or so, I've been thinking about starting like the series on my review channel, explaining like fighting game terms and stuff like that. But then I was like, well, I could explain them because I feel like there's not enough casual opinions being shared in the fighting game YouTube thing. And so I was like, well, I could make them and I could actually present those definitions. But the thing is, like, I'm pretty sure I would turn most of the videos into me freaking like just shit talking the FGC because esports piss me off.
Eh, someone should just make like a bare bones, simple like fighting game like dictionary video, like with
I
just
mean,
examples.
yeah,
You're
yeah.
on to something.
Yeah, I mean, my idea was that I would basically take the job of a casual who is being stuck basically stuck between being a casual and um actually being able to play fighting games competitively because of his bloody ideals, I guess.
Yeah.
And so like I could explain the some of the more complex stuff that I understand while also presenting our opinion as for why you shouldn't care about this yet, or why, or which order to go through things, because that's how I did them. It's basically giving advice.
Well, I feel like providing definitions for the terms would have to be separated from providing your opinion. You know,
Yeah. Yeah,
but
I did want to, like, basically it would be one, technically one series, but they would be separate videos.
yeah.
So
So in the continuous press to try and get good at video games that are very complex, but once you get into them, they seem so simple in hindsight, right? That's always
yeah.
the problem with fighting games. That guys like Sajam and Maximilian Dude can say like, "Oh, they're not that hard to get into. They're pretty simple." And it's like, but the gate of entry is so hard.
Yeah, they're not hard to get into once you actually understand what the hell is being given to you. But you need to understand what the hell is being given to you. And also, people like people who are getting bullied won't be looking at what the other guy is doing and going, "Oh yeah, that was a good freaking convert."
And the very nice thing, though, at least, is you and me, Addy. Like we're both at the medium level fighting games, right?
I don't know, lower end of online. I don't know where that puts us, or puts me anyway,
Like
because
in
I still
terms
don't
of
enjoy it
knowledge.
online. But in terms of knowledge, yeah, we're somewhere in the middle ground.
But like we're at the same time lucky enough to have Pink and Soon, who we can immediately be turned to and be like, "Hey, Pink, what's a cross up?"
Is that something regarding a church?
Not
Yes,
yet,
I
not
knew
yet, not yet. But once Jesus comes back, yeah.
it.
when
Jesus,
Jesus comes back, he's going to win Evo first.
no. When Jesus comes back, he starts doing records to churches.
Oh God, it's the cross up.
Jesus will do what El Hado can and a sweep at the same time.
Oh God, Uh, Jesus turns on his fucking copy of Street Fighter Five, and he starts playing Ed. But who's Ed? Why did I just say Ed?
Ed is the boxer guy, I think. Borrow race him.
Whatever. He starts playing, I don't know, Chun Li, and starts doing third strike parries. Chun Li doesn't
Yeah,
have third strike parries.
yeah.
He starts doing Marvel 3 Super.
That's actually in the game, but not the super. Maybe the supers even, but the Chun-Li, specifically Chun-Li, does actually have programming for Marvel 3 combos.
Right, the rare Chun Li that they added for a single boss.
It's not a rare Chun-Li. It's Shadow Lady, which is a reference to Alpha 2, Alpha 1, somewhere there. Or no, actually I'm wrong. It's Marvel Capcom 2, yeah, because that has Shadow Charlie and Shadow Chun.
As far as I care, that's just rare Chun Li.
Speaking of rare Jesus.
Rare Jesus. Rare Jesus. Shin Jesus.
Yeah. He,
That's really good because isn't.
he still has that heaven symbol on his back.
Oh man. Isn't Shin just Japanese for God?
No, Shin is either true or it. Actually, you might be right. Yeah.
God, Jesus. Oh, that needs to be a Mugen character. That's got to be a Mugen character somewhere.
Yeah.
I mean, Jesus is already a fighting game character in Fight of Gods, so hey. Uh, don't fighting games seem wonderful from the outside, Pink? And you know what, Addy, I do want to mention that
Yeah.
Jesus character in Fight of the Gods is a Rekka-based character.
Yeah, I know. You brought this up before. That's why I referenced it.
Oh, son of a bitch, I'm dumb. Uh, anyways, yeah, I've been wanting to get into the historical Total Wars a little bit more because I feel like with all the complications of having fucking nukes and giant monsters and dragons and all that stuff, maybe I might learn a bit more of just actual strategy. And I can go back to Warhammer feeling a little bit less intimidated sometimes, you know?
Yeah.
Ah. And in that regard, I picked up during the summer sale. Well, I picked up Gary's mod for both of you, but I also,
Oh.
yeah, you're gonna be interested in the stuff we got going on there, Pink.
Yeah.
But I picked up pretty much the last two major Total Wars that I didn't have, outside of the very first ones, which are 2D and quite bad.
Yeah.
Total War Napoleon and Total War Attila. The two Total Wars in the game series, which are not named for historical periods, but named for dudes.
Historical dudes.
Very historical dudes.
One of them's named after me.
Yeah. He's
That's
named
so
after
great.
you.
Yeah.
You're just that cool that they had to name an ancient warlord after you.
Yeah.
So, Napoleon's one of the ones I always hear big talk about it being one of the most balanced and, like, good to play ones in the series. With that said, going in, it feels a little strange to understand. A lot of dudes with guns. Like, by that point, melee combat has pretty much entirely been phased out. The year 18 fucking 10, right?
Right.
So, virtually all the units are dude with rifle, dude with musket. And it's a follow up to an entry in the series, Total War Empire, which is set in 1700. And by then, there were still some melee guys left. The European factions could still get pikemen, and you could play as Native American or Muslim or Indian factions. And they still had some. But nope, they're entirely gone here. The closest you get is maybe some cavalry. And for me, like, that is like an entirely foreign way of learning warfare because I've been playing the other Total War games and they're all based around melee combat. So now I just look at this gun and it's that fucking Gandalf examining the AK-47, right? What is this strange nonsense? The other one I picked up was Total War Attila. Total War Attila seems like it's Total War Rome, but more interesting. Maybe it's just me, but like Rome, the Roman period in history just doesn't seem too interesting in terms of warfare because a lot of it is just, oh, legionaries, hoplites, and I don't know, skirmishing dudes with javelins.
Why did you just describe the whole of the ancient period?
Yeah, it it just seems boring, honestly.
Yeah, that's why I don't like ancient settings. Honestly.
Yeah, and I could be wrong, and there did seem to be some weirdo factions like the Slavs who are just like, what is walking on foot? Like legitimately, the entire Slav army list is just all cavalry, all horse, nothing else. They don't even get off their fucking horses to fire artillery. Damn it! But Attila seems a good bit more interesting in that regard. It's partly because by that point, the Romans have beaten the shit out of pretty much all the Europeans. So it doesn't have Rome's problem of, Oh, 90% of the roster is just either Greeks or Germanics. So there's that, and they also just seem to have better roster diversity of by the time of Attila is like the Roman Empire is falling apart, right?
Right.
So you pick from Rome, but there's also, of course, the Huns. And the Huns are playing by entirely different standards. They're taking the Slavs and they're basically less shit about it. Horse, bow, get fucked. By
Yep.
that time, oh, no, go ahead, Addy.
Nothing really. I do believe that the Huns got their horse tactics in real life from the Mongols, though. That's an interesting tidbit, in my opinion.
Right, because it's commonly theorized that the Huns were the what the Chinese referred to as the Xiongnu, right, which were a family of peoples who were very, very close to Mongolia. They were still in the steppes,
I think so, yeah.
and the
And
Chinese
yeah,
scared them off and pretty much made them Rome's problem.
yeah. My name even like because from what we can tell, Hungarians came from around the same place that the Huns came from, but Hungarians are now not officially recognized as like Huns. So for like I don't know how many years, if you looked up my name, for example, it said, "Oh, it's Hungarian," and now it just says Germanic.
Eh,
It's funny.
yeah, I don't. The actual like, even though Hungary is named for the Huns, right? Hungary, excuse me.
Well, well, the thing with Hungary is that I don't even know where the freaking English name came from because we have an entirely different name, uh, in our own language,
Magyars,
and yeah, Magyar.
Magyar. Okay, so
Yeah,
that's one of those. That's one
yeah,
of those. No, go ahead.
yeah, like the whole country's got Magyarország, which is literally just Magyar land. But
I
just
see.
not paying attention to that. According to folk tales, because that's basically all of the historical things that we have, as far as I know, about where the names came from. According to folk tales, there were these two, uh, like brothers who are definitely not Romulus and Remus.
Eh.
Please, original founders do not steal. but but there were these two brothers who were hunting deer. One of them shot the deer, and then that's where the country got founded. One of them was called Hunor, and one of them was called Magor, and that's where the two names came from. Because one of them went around and was like, "Look what the country I co-founded. It is named after me." While the other one was, "Look what the country we're living in. It was named after me," or something like that.
Ah, all right.
No, but as far as I know, nobody knows where the actual name came from.
I'm looking at the Wikipedia page for Magyars right now, and apparently the first biggest Magyar population in the world is in Hungary, obviously. But do you know where the second biggest Magyar population in the world is?
Probably Romania or Slovakia.
Nope, U.S.
Huh, funny. Yeah, a lot of people actually did go out there. Even I used to have a relative there. We don't know if he's alive still. But
There's apparently 1.5 million Magyars in the United States. So, you know what? When I play Total War Attila, I'll play as Attila and I'll conquer Hungary. And while I do it, I'll be thinking of you, Addy, as I burn the Eastern Romans to the ground. But yeah, Total War Attila seems like it has a lot more fun national diversity here because by this point, like also the Sassanids had started. Sassanids. So we've got Arabs here, and for some reason, even though Rome bizarrely only had one African faction that was a dark skinned African, this one's got two.
Oh, that's
Oh,
twice the amount.
Oh
twice.
my god!
They still got a lot of white people in them. I thought that was a bit odd. But hey, Ethiopia's here. Except this time they're called Oxum.
Oh yes.
They're called Oxen?
Axum.
Oh,
Hey,
Oxum. Alright, yeah.
so I'll probably try to put more time in with Attila because I find it a lot more interesting than Rome. But we'll see. And that's pretty much all I've done this past week. And we just cleared an hour. So hey.
Well, that's a theory, a podcast theory.
Oh God. No. Addie, say bye. Addie, say Matt Pat sucks.
Matt Pat sucks.
We'll see you later, folks.